Hey everybody, this is Quentin Collins again here with Stay Green Golf. It's been a little bit since the last video post. I was in South Carolina doing a little bit of golfing of my own, but we're back, and this week we're going to be doing a double length feature to make up for the lost time that we had last week. So this week we are actually lucky enough, in the first segment we're going to be sitting down with Stony Creek Golf Club Superintendent Dave Padgett, and we'll get his opinion on what golfers can do to be a little bit more ecologically friendly, and additionally what we can do to make it easier on the ground crew. When you make it easier on the ground crew, a lot of the machines they're using require gas, and almost all of them are gas powered. So when we don't make them go out as much and have to do as much course maintenance, obviously they're burning less gas, which emits less CO2 and other harmful things. And additionally, one of the things is that the more that we take care of the course, the more aesthetically pleasing it is, and that can really get people hooked more into golf, just from a passion standpoint. So like I said, we'll be sitting down with Dave Padgett and seeing what we can find out from him. Unfortunately, I won't be doing any golfing on video this week. Took a tumble and hurt both of my feet, so I can't even really get my feet into golf shoes right now. But nonetheless, in the second segment, we will be going over some more green tees. Traditionally, hardwood tees are more harmful to the environment than we would like. So there are other alternatives which work perfectly fine from a performance standpoint, and sometimes even better. Personally, I use Epoch plastic tees, and the plastic tees, I just like the better feel off the tee, and specifically even their par 3 tees. However, we're also going to look at some bamboo tees that are called nubbies, and those are used just for par 3s, and we'll get a little bit more in depth in that later in the segment. So stay tuned, and thank you for tuning in once again to Stay Green Golf. What are some things that we as golfers and customers can do that be a little bit more ecologically friendly, but also make things easier on the ground crews? I mean, I know repairing divots is a big thing. Obviously, you see a lot of trouble with ball marks, right. And they always advise repair your own +1. What are some other things that golfers can kind of go out of their way to do to make your guys' job a little bit easier?
One of the things you always see on the golf course, and a lot of golfers, if I do mention it to it, and I will use some of my own family members so I don't have to point the finger at any individual, but I've played with some of my own family members, and they will drive the golf cart to the tee and then right at the last second pull the cart off to the side on the tee bank, and they won't even realize they're doing it. Yet, if every group of golfers does that, that's where the wear area, and you'll see in many golf courses, right next to the tee, there's a place off the cart path that they pull the carts off. Mm-hmm. It's totally unnecessary. So it's a matter of education to get the golfers used to not doing little things like that. So that's kind of a cart wear and tear thing. But like you mentioned, ball marks are the biggest issue by far on the putting greens, particularly par 3 greens. Mm-hmm. But overall, that is the biggest issue that a golfer could help the superintendent or the golfers that follow them. That's you're basically doing it for the guy behind you.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's really what the ethics or the etiquette is for fixing ball marks. So,
does Stony Creek specifically, take any steps to be ecologically friendly per se?
Yeah, we try to do an integrated pest management program with any plant protectants. We target diseases and insect problems, scout for them, try not to just blanket the areas blindly. However, sometimes it's more cost effective to be on a preventative program. Just depends on what your target is, than to let something get out of hand and then try to play catch up. And we've, in the last few years, we have tried to establish several more acres of native areas for wildlife habitat, less fuel usage to maintain those areas, and at first we thought we'd get resistance from the golfers on that, just for lost balls and things like that, and honestly I've heard nothing negative about it. If they're grown in properly and shaped properly, they're actually quite pretty. And we're finding many more birds, little ground nesting birds, little rodents burrowing through the area, and all that stuff. Deer beds. Unfortunately, the geese moved in too. They wasn't going to do. But yeah, we've done steps to try to reduce water usage. Sometimes not by choice. The drought we had in 2012, we reduced water usage because we didn't have any water. But things like that.
Okay. How much water is generally used like on a weekly basis? I mean, I know you have to run the sprinkler systems and.
Well, a full boat irrigation here at night could use 300,000 gallons of water.
All right.
That's if we went wall to wall, 100% water budgets. Now, and we have a fairly simple irrigation system too. It's all single row down the fairway. The fairway heads are paired together, just under construction cost and saving wire cost and piping. A few years ago, I wish we had multiple row and individual control. I still wish I had individual controls, but really a good example was Pinehurst this year at the U.S. Open. They went the other way. They took 700 or more sprinkler heads off their golf course, went from using 50 million gallons of water a year to 15 million gallons of water a year. And they're now single row system. And they're getting by pretty good. So.
Yeah, exactly. As I mentioned, our second item is going to be golf tees. Golf tees are generally made out of white birch as far as hardwood tees go. And although it's a small item, it's something that can really actually have a pretty large environmental impact. In one white birch tree, it's cited on simpleecology.com that one birch tree will produce around 40,000 tees. While that may seem like a large and I guess rather efficient number in relativity, it's simply not the case. In the United States alone, 400 million rounds of golf are played per year, and they estimate that about 7 tees are used per golfer per round. So if you take 400 million times 7 and do the simple math, you come up with about 2.8 billion tees used per year, which equates to roughly 70,000 trees per year. And white birch trees aren't really a tree that grow very quickly. They take about 60 years to hit maturity. So you almost have to kind of look at it in a domino effect pattern. If you're using these tees, you're encouraging the industry, and they're tearing these trees down to be able to make these golf tees. Well, what that does is that displaces wildlife, and it also cuts down a healthy tree that helps provide oxygen. And simply beyond that is just beautiful aesthetically. And as golfers, when there's more both economical and ecological options available, I think that we should hold ourselves to a higher standard and adopt those options. And although about 90% of professional golfers actually do use wooden tees, the simple fact is that not all of us are professional golfers. There's a reason they're the pros, and if they want to use those tees, I 100% understand that. That's their job. But to the weekender that's going out there, switching tees is not going to have a huge effect on your game. The only reason I use the tees I do is because they have a smaller model, and I really enjoy being able to hit off that model. I found it adds a little bit of distance to my clubs, but at the same time, the sad actuality is that there could be a little bit of a placebo effect. But when you look down at your ball and you look down at whatever tee you may be using, just looking down at it, really kind of affects your mental game. And that's just what I really like looking down at. But at the same time, you know, if there's a better ecological option out there, then obviously it's responsible to do that. Now let's take a look at the options that we have besides hardwood teas that are made traditionally from white birch. So as I had mentioned earlier, you know, white birch teas are not exactly the best option just due to the trees take 60 to 80 years to hit full maturity. If you leave it in the ground, the breakdown time is around 2 to 4 years, and the durability is very average. You break teas pretty commonly, most certainly multiple times around. And although the cost is low, I personally think there's better options. The first option we'll look at, I actually think is on the, I guess you could say, worst side of the options, and these are called brush teas. And basically what they are, they're made of a plastic bottom, and they have this plastic brush top, which is obviously where they get their name from. You buy 2 of these in a pack, and you can buy them at various heights and stuff, but personally I'm not a massive fan of them. I've used them before, and you know, when you push the tea into the ground, you don't get very much adjustability on the tea height, so you have to buy exactly what height you want. And unfortunately, you know, in golf you're always making those tiny changes, and sometimes how high you tee the ball up is a change that's very pivotal to the game. Additionally, you know, plastic is not a renewable resource. If you leave one of these in the ground, which would be pretty difficult because of how large it is, you're going to remember to pick it up almost every time. But if you were, the breakdown time is many decades. The durability is obviously great. You know, you don't really wear these things out too easily. And these are on a little bit higher on the cost side of things. And, you know, to only get 2 of them in a pack, I don't really like it. And personally, I just don't really care for looking down at them. You know, golf is a big part of your mental game, and when I see something that big in diameter, it's just not something I really enjoy looking down at and have a lot of confidence in. The second tee I'll show you is actually the tees that I use, and to be honest, I adore them. It's called Epoch tees, and these are plastic tees as well. Like I said, plastic is obviously not a renewable resource, and you know, if you leave these in the ground, it's going to take a while for these things to decay, you know, decades on decades. They're actually relatively cheap, anywhere from, you know, $7 to $9, and you're getting a pack of about 40 of them. And they're extremely durable. I can count on one hand the amount of times I've broken one of these tees. They're very adjustable, and I bought 1 box and I lasted 2 seasons with them. And to put that in perspective, I go to the driving range at least twice a week, and I golf anywhere from 1 to 2 times a week. So I definitely put a lot of use and abuse on these tees, and they really hold up. I'm pretty biased towards these just because I have used them for so long, and I've never had any sort of problems with them. I love looking down at them. It looks like a traditional golf tee. And to me, if you're reusing something over and over and over, you're kind of minimalizing the impact. Nonetheless, the sad thing is that, you know, it is not a renewable resource and that there are still better options out there. Which brings me to the Green Monster tees. These are actually made out of bamboo, and they actually are printed in a nice orange color. Obviously very high visibility, so you know, people are going to pick these up a little bit more just because it catches their eye more. Bamboo is actually a very, very strong wood, and these are called nubbies, which means that they're for par 3s. And you can also use taller ones that are made out of bamboo, and those are also great options as well. Really, I guess one of the best things about it is that this is a sustainable material, and they replenish themselves 10 times faster than hardwood tees. That comes directly from the manufacturer. And these are actually 7 times stronger, proven in the lab, than traditional hardwood tees. So this is a great option. And finally, I don't have any, but another great option is wheat tees. And wheat tees are extremely sustainable. Unfortunately, their durability isn't as nice as I'd like, and you know, as far as cost, you have to have them shipped in, and a lot of times for golf you have to buy them immediately. But nonetheless, wheat tees are by far the best option as far as sustainability goes. However, I would say that for somebody that is kind of anal about how they like their golf equipment, I would definitely suggest using the Epoch tees. Once again, I know I'm pretty biased on it, but if you're reusing these things, I made a pack last me 2 seasons, and that's saying a lot. You know, it helped me save a little bit of money, and I just love playing with them. And if you're only buying 1 pack, it's not doing that big of harm to the environment, and certainly doing much less than white birch tees. That about wraps it up this week for Stay Green Golf. We were lucky enough to sit down with Dave Patchett at Stony Creek Golf Club and see ways that we as golfers can be a little bit more responsible and make things easier on the grounds crew and be more ecologically friendly. We also were able to take a look at some tees and see which ones may be a little bit better for the environment, or as I said with the Epoch tees, even though they are plastic, they are highly reusable and they're going to last you a long time, which simply just means that you're going to be buying less of them and you're going to be using less material. So we'll see you very soon here in the future for our next product. Stay tuned.